as Captain America and the others passed through the portal. Before their eyes was a scene reminiscent of Star Wars. Dense beams of energy rained down from the sky like raindrops. Wakanda warriors raised their capes with one hand, forming translucent energy shields in front of them. Then they aimed their spears at the sky, and shot out beams of laser. Two different colored beams of energy turned the sky and earth into a chaotic line drawing. Boom boom boom, one Ultron robot after another was hit by the lasers. They exploded in the air, disintegrated, and their debris fell to the ground with thick smoke. Ultron has suffered severe damage. Uploading data. Vulnerability detected. Lack of energy defense measures, vulnerability level, medium. Uploading. Battle analysis. Enemy has defense vulnerabilities, change combat strategy. Soon, the Ultron robots changed their tactics. They began to hover in the air and attack Wakanda from different directions. The energy shields formed by the capes of the Wakanda warriors could only defend against one direction. In an instant, many Wakanda soldiers were unable to turn around in time and were hit by energy beams from other directions. They were killed on the spot. A large number of soldiers died. Soon, gaps appeared in the formation of the Wakanda warriors. In terms of defense, more vulnerabilities appeared. Then, casualties began to multiply, and the number of deaths increased exponentially. Meanwhile, Captain America and the others arrived at the battlefield at this moment. Oh no! It seems like they can't hold on. Captain America quickly understood the situation. Without hesitation, he threw his vibranium shield into the air like lightning. Boom! One Ultron robot flying low over the ground was accurately hit by the shield and lost control on the spot. It fell straight to the ground, and exploded into a burst of fireworks. The vibranium shield bounced back and returned to Captain America's hand. This thing defies physics. Doctor Strange looked at Captain America's shield with a puzzled expression. Do you magicians also study physics? Captain America didn't explain. Once he got the shield, he shouted loudly for everyone to hear. Avengers, attack! As soon as these words were spoken, Dr. Banner immediately ran forward. While running, his body quickly grew in size and his skin turned green. Roar! The Hulk appeared. With a roar, his massive body leapt into the air like a missile, charging towards the hovering Ultron formation. We have reinforcements? Change formation, back to back. Upon discovering the assistance, the experienced old king immediately issued new orders. Reorganize the team that had already been overwhelmed by the Ultron robots. 3 to 4 people in a group, back to back. Try to keep everyone protected by the cape barriers. Avengers detected. Target Chuu. Target Stark not present. Unknown target detected. Uploading data for comparison. Comparison complete. Carl Mordo, magician. In the air, a special Ultron robot did not participate in the battle. Instead, it hovered on the outskirts of the battlefield, its crimson mechanical eye continuously scanning the battlefield. But in the next second, an infinitely extending magic whip swept across from the ground, cutting off this special Ultron robot and several nearby machines at the waist. Well done, magician. Just call me Mordo. Mordo waved his magic whip, as if waving a long snake with a forked tongue. Sweeping through, it is able to cut off a line of Ultron robots. The words Chuu said to Mordo before were actually not wrong. Mordo is indeed one of the outstanding magicians among the new generation at Kamar Taj, especially in close combat spells. He may not be good at other types of magic, but if it's melee combat with weapons, Mordo is definitely the one. Discovering critical vulnerability. Ultron lacks magical defense measures, vulnerability level, high. Uploading data. However, the special Ultron robot destroyed by Mordo. Before its crimson mechanical eye completely dimmed, it still uploaded a piece of data to the Ultron network. At the same time as the Battle of Wakanda, on the African coast. Inside an abandoned shipyard, a clearly higher specification Ultron robot is stepping on the black market merchant Ulysses Clow with one mechanical foot. You know, human knowledge is interesting, especially the part about conspiracies. I have learned a lot from them, one of which is Mingshou Zhandao, Andwichenkong. Ultron's foot is stepping on Ulysses Clow, huge amounts of weight, almost breaking the opponent's ribs. Cough. No matter what you want, I don't have what you're looking for. Ulysses Klaus spits out a mouthful of blood. He still wants to hide it. But the other two Ultron robots next to him have already found his warehouse. They open the iron door, covering an entire wall, filled with vibranium stored in cylindrical containers. This is the power of conspiracy. While they are still futilely resisting in Wakanda, I have already obtained what I want. Ultron lifts his foot, releasing the barely alive Ulysses Klaus. Then picks up a tube of vibranium. This small tube is worth billions of dollars on the market. No. That's mine. The value of these things is not small. Ulysses Klaus struggles to get up, shouting unwillingly. Money? Ultron turns his head, a hint of human-like mockery in his crimson mechanical eye. The next second, Ulysses Klaus's phone receives a text message notification. Your account has been credited with $100 billion. You humans are really boring. A string of worthless numbers can drive you, and even make you willingly sacrifice your life. After Ultron finishes speaking, preparing to leave, suddenly, as if sensing something, the mechanical arm instantly generates high temperature. He turns around and stabs Ulysses Klaus's heart with one swift motion, killing him. Ultron Commander 07, 08, 09. Activate. Activate more Ultron soldiers. Increase the intensity of the attack on Wakanda. Messages are rapidly transmitted within Ultron's main network. At the same time, the real Ultron, the Ultron that has been lurking in the internet, is listening to a phone call between two ordinary people. Jane, come quickly, your machine has detected a gravitational anomaly. Yes, right at 0. Forget about Eric, he's gone crazy. Oh, and Jane, when you come, remember to avoid the street protests. I don't want my best friend to fall into the hands of those rioters. Ultron silently listens to the conversation, infiltrating Daisy Lewis' computer. Reading data. Discovering gravitational anomaly. The energy wave frequency resonates with the energy of the mind gem. Conclusion. There are new infinite gems appearing. Black Widow's gaze flickered. She secretly observed the ancient and elegant architecture in front of her. Kamar Taj, the legendary world of magicians. She never expected that she would have the opportunity to visit Kamar Taj in her lifetime. Now I can show off to Clint when I go back. Just as Black Widow sighed, a round-faced middle-aged Asian man appeared in front of her and Chuu. The Ancient One is waiting for you, but I have to remind you, she doesn't seem very happy today. Wong patted Chuu's shoulder. Then he walked away with a smug look on his face. Chuu wanted to say, what does it have to do with me if she's happy or not? But he remembered that he came to ask for help. So he swallowed his words. You wait outside, I'll go in alone. Chuu left Black Widow outside and pushed open the door. He entered the hall. Sure enough, the Ancient One was already waiting inside. But she had no expression, and it was hard to tell her emotions. Are you here to ask for my help? Yes. Chuu nodded. He walked forward and took out the hard drive containing Dr. Strange. This guy uploaded his consciousness to the network and became a digital life form. But I think, even if a person becomes a digital life form, he should still have a soul, right? That's right. Chuu wanted the Ancient One to use the Dark Seal Palm to extract Dr. Strange's soul from the hard drive. Because Dr. Strange and Ultron were fundamentally different. Ultron was an artificial being, without a soul. But Dr. Strange was different. He was a human when he was alive. Even if he died and became a digital life form, he should still have a soul. As long as Dr. Strange's soul could be extracted from the hard drive, Chuu could use it as leverage, and then he could use various black magic and curses on his soul. That way, even if Dr. Strange betrayed him, Chuu had enough means to deal with him. But the prerequisite was that the Ancient One had to help. Because Chuu had never learned the Dark Seal Palm and didn't know how to use it. He had even searched the library of Kamar Taj but couldn't find any similar magic. Because of this, Chuu had suspected more than once that the Ancient One was hiding something. Intentionally keeping a few moves from him. Chuu, I'm glad you thought of coming to me when you encountered trouble. But you took the Eye of Agamotto, and I'm not happy about that. The Ancient One said as she reached out her hand to Chuu. Give it to me. Chuu was stunned. Leader, wasn't it you who left it here and let me take it by default? Why are you changing your tune now? I know what you're thinking. Yes, I intentionally left it behind for you to defend yourself. But now you've used it up. You've already subdued Gila, and you're about to conquer the spirit prison. It's time to give it back to me. As soon as he heard the word, give it back, Chuu felt uneasy all over. No way, I still have to save the world. Boss, let me use it for a little longer. Chuu held onto the eye of Agamotto. Although he didn't say a word, the Ancient One clearly understood what he was thinking. Don't even think about it. The time gem is not meant to be used like this. Your misuse has caused the emergence of multiple time branches. This will lead to disastrous consequences. After the Ancient One finished speaking, she looked up at Chuu. With a serious tone, she said, regarding the current crisis. I know you want to use the time gem to travel back in time and prevent Tony Stark from creating Ultron. But I have to remind you, don't forget about your uniqueness, you are different from others. The first time we met, I told you that the time gem cannot see your past and future. Do you know what that means? What does it mean? Once again, Chuu heard questions about himself and time from the Ancient One. He put away his frivolousness, became serious. It means you are independent in the timeline. You do not exist in the past and future, you only exist at the moment. For example, if someone wants to travel back in time to kill you before you grow up, they would be wasting their time, because in the timeline of the past, you as a person do not exist. So, if you want to travel back a few days ago to prevent Ultron's birth, at the same moment, the Chuu who was in the underworld talking to Gila would disappear with your arrival. You would create a completely new timeline. In that timeline, Ultron may not appear, but Gila would not know you, and the border of hell would still be Balast's territory. Do you want to become like that? The Ancient One finished speaking. Then she picked up the tea next to her and took a sip. While drinking tea, her gaze was still observing Chuu's expression. Snap. Suddenly, Chuu forcefully took off the eye of Agamotto. With a snap, it heavily landed on the table in front of the Ancient One. Take it away, take it away. Don't let me see it for a moment. Love whoever you want, I don't want to experience the infinite loop of subduing Gila again. Seeing the eye of Agamotto being slammed on the table by Chuu, the Ancient One's eyelid twitched. She quickly picked up the eye of Agamotto and discreetly checked it. This kid. Why did he slam it so hard? Cough, cough. After confirming that the eye of Agamotto was not damaged by Chuu's slam, the Ancient One coughed lightly and picked up the hard drive containing Doctor Strange from the side. A gentle tap. A magical wave appeared. The next second, a translucent figure flew out of the hard drive. What is this? Doctor Strange in his astral form looked around in shock. The data in the hard drive stopped processing. It was like a dormant state. So for Doctor Strange, he was in the disk in the underground base 1 second, and the next second he was. Wait. I have a body. Only now did Doctor Strange realize. He was floating in the air in the form of a human. Just that he was semi-transparent. What did you do to me? Doctor Strange looked at Chuu in shock. Chuu didn't answer Doctor Strange's question. Instead, he turned to the Ancient One. Do you have any black magic that can control a person's soul and make them disintegrate and lose consciousness? If you have, it would be best to bring a few more. Yes. Doctor Strange in his astral form watched the Ancient One and Chuu's question and answer. Then, in a moment, a nightmarish scene appeared in front of Doctor Strange. Chuu's eyes turned crimson, and his whole body was covered in evil aura. Like a devil walking out of hell, his left hand was black magic. His right hand was an evil curse. He grinned. Approaching Doctor Strange's soul. He. Jane Foster. Thor's girlfriend on Earth, or rather, ex-girlfriend. After the first battle in New York ended, Thor returned to Asgard and never came back to Earth. No contact. Naturally, their relationship ended. Darcy, I'm almost there. Jane drove alone, heading to the address given by her friend Darcy. Along the way, there were scenes of destruction and chaos, with the streets in ruins. The aftermath of the financial system collapse still lingered. Despite the deployment of military forces by various countries to maintain stability, the situation remained chaotic. Jane passed through several blocks. She carefully chose her route, trying to avoid the angry protest crowds. For a girl like her, falling into the hands of those rioters would often lead to a bad outcome. Fortunately, she made it safely along the way. Jane finally met her friend Darcy in front of an abandoned factory. "This is it. Your device detected strong energy fluctuations. How are the readings?" Jane asked. "How would I know? But I did find something interesting. Come quickly," Darcy said in a carefree manner. As she spoke, she excitedly pulled Jane into the abandoned factory. The two arrived inside the factory. To their surprise, they saw a several-ton abandoned truck suspended in the air for no apparent reason. "Haha. I am the mighty goddess Darcy." With just one finger, Darcy flipped the floating truck over. But Jane wasn't in the mood for such playfulness. She was more concerned about the mysterious anti-gravity phenomenon and its underlying cause. Holding a handheld detector, Jane walked step by step towards the depths of the abandoned factory. Drip, drip, the further she went, the more piercing the alarm sound of the device became. It seemed that there was an extremely powerful energy source inside the factory. Turning a corner, Jane finally detected the source of the energy, a door at the end of the corridor. The door was pitch black, as if it led to an unknown world. "Human girl, if I were you, I wouldn't continue forward." Just as Jane was about to approach and investigate, a mechanical synthesis voice suddenly came from the side. Boom. The next second, an Ultron robot blasted through the wall, flying into the factory and blocking Jane Foster's path. "Who are you?" Stark's robot. Jane, after all, had seen big scenes before. Seeing Ultron, she didn't panic, but calmly questioned. Little did she know that her remark of Stark's robot directly angered Ultron. "What did you say?" Ultron grabbed Jane by the neck, lifting her up, its mechanical eyes glowing red. "Do you think I'm Stark's lapdog? Look at me. Do you think I'm like Iron Man? Let me tell you, Stark is nothing." As a true artificial intelligence, Ultron also had various emotions such as joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. And now, it was feeling anger. "Jane Foster. You just made the last mistake of your life," Ultron said, and his mechanical hand began to exert force. As an ordinary person, Jane couldn't break free from Ultron's restraints and could only open her mouth in despair. But her strangled throat couldn't produce a single sound. Boom. Just as Jane was about to be choked to death. The rainbow beam of the Bifrost descended from the sky, and Mjolnir flew out first. After making an arc in the air, Mjolnir directly sent Ultron flying. "Who dares to harm the woman of Odin's son?" In the next second, Thor leapt out of the Bifrost, and in midair he caught Thor's hammer. With a swing of his hand, a bolt of lightning was thrown, directly blasting the flying Ultron robot into pieces. "Jane. Are you okay?" After dealing with Ultron, Thor immediately rushed to Jane's side. But what greeted him was a loud slap, even though she had just been nearly choked to death. After taking a breath, Jane still didn't give Thor a good look. "Please call me Miss Foster, daughter of Odin. And, we're completely finished." Smack. A slap was thrown. Jane packed up her things and walked away without looking back. "Jane." Thor covered his face. Just as he was about to chase after her, another Ultron robot attacked. Followed by a second, third, and more robots flying in from a distance. "Oh, Odin's beard. Why are there so many metal lumps on Earth?" Thor threw his hammer, smashing one Ultron robot. And then tore apart another one with his bare hands. But the surrounding robots seemed endless, with a dozen more coming right after. Analyzing. Son of Odin, Thor Odinson. Analysis complete. Data uploading. Analyzing. Mjolnir. Analysis complete. Data uploading. Thor was getting annoyed by these robots, in a fit of rage. He directly summoned a bolt of lightning from the sky. One move, directly paralyzing the dozen or so Ultron robots around him. Damn it. It's probably Tony Stark's doing. Thor had a look of, "It has to be me," on his face. After speaking, he called back Mjolnir, and walked towards the outside of the factory. But he didn't notice on the ground a paralyzed Ultron robot, its crimson mechanical eyes lit up again. Thor's mind is simple. Very foolish. The data has been uploaded. While this Ultron robot was uploading data, it walked towards the gate leading to Otherworld. A few minutes later, When this robot came out again, it had completely changed its appearance. On the mechanical body forged from cold metal, there was a strange red energy swirling. TIE particles detected. Reality gem. Data uploading. At the same time, the Ultron main body that existed in the internet also began a wide-scale search. Space gem. Tesseract stored in Asgard. Time gem. Unknown. Soul gem. Unknown. Power stone. Unknown. The battle in Wakanda continues. Ultron's army of robots seems endless. Every time the Avengers Alliance and the Wakandan warriors join forces to defeat a wave. Immediately after, another wave of Ultron's army attacks. It seems that this machine is determined to conquer Wakanda. Captain America looks at the constantly incoming Ultron army. He is very certain in his heart. They have found the right place. Ultron's primary target must be Wakanda's vibranium. Otherwise, it wouldn't keep sending waves of robots. Notify Stark, we need reinforcements. Hawkeye shoots an explosive arrow. Even with an eye patch, aiming with only one eye, his accuracy is still terrifying. The explosive arrow flies into the sky. It accurately hits one Ultron robot, causing it and the two robots next to it to explode together. Father. On the other side, the situation of the Wakandan warriors is not optimistic. After a long battle, King T'Chaka is finally exhausted. He is caught off guard by two Ultron robots, one in front and one behind. They dive down. T'Chaka uses his vibranium spear to deal with the enemy in front of him. But he doesn't have time to deal with the Ultron robot behind him. Father. T'Challa, the son of the old king and the future Black Panther, can only watch as his father is taken high into the air by an Ultron robot. At the moment, Princess Shuri has not yet invented the unique energy-absorbing shock system of the Black Panther battlesuit. The Ultron robot takes T'Chaka high into the air. In the process, the old king is also attacked by energy beams from multiple Ultron robots. Already on the verge of death, he is thrown down from thousands of meters in the air by an Ultron robot. T'Challa and the other Wakandan warriors want to rescue the old king. But it's too late. The sound of a heavy object hitting the ground. It pronounces the death of King T'Chaka, and this is not the worst news. Soon, Captain America and the others discover that the new wave of Ultron robots is noticeably different from before. The latest addition to the battlefield, Ultron robots, are actually equipped with energy shields that are extremely similar to the cloak barrier of Wakanda. Perhaps to save materials, these shields do not protect all of the Ultron robots. But some core components, such as the chest energy source and the head processor, are protected by the energy barrier. From now on, the laser fired by the vibranium spear of Wakanda can no longer instantly kill Ultron robots. Even attacks from magical weapons, such as Mordo's magic whip and magic flying blades, are partially blocked by the energy shield of the Ultron robots. Oh my god! These machines are self-iterating. They are learning in battle. They have been modified to target us. Hawkeye shoots an electromagnetic disruption arrow. But the strong electromagnetic wave does not paralyze multiple Ultron robots like before. Ultron is learning. They have already installed electromagnetic disruption devices. If we continue like this, we will all die in the hands of these machines. Mordo grits his teeth and persists in the battle. Fortunately, he is a melee magician. If it were another magician, their magic would have been exhausted long ago. But even so, Mordo still feels the severity of the situation. The new Ultron robots, whether in defense or attack, have significantly improved. If this continues, they will be dragged to death by these machines. No. We need to call for reinforcements. Mordo remembered what Chuu had said before. If the situation is not right, call him. But even though he said that, whenever Mordo thinks of Chuu's unreliable behavior in the past, his heart becomes uneasy. Chuu, please don't abandon us. Don't forget that you said I am your brother, your beloved kin. However, before Mordo could call Chuu, a series of explosions occurred among the Ultron robots in the air. Boom, boom, boom. Mordo looked up, but it wasn't Chuu who arrived. It was Colonel Rhodes wearing the War Machine armor. Guys, I hope I'm not too late. The War Machine armor truly lives up to its name. The large caliber Gatling gun on its shoulder automatically targeted the nearby Ultron robots. Once locked on, it immediately spewed out a stream of fire. The armor's arms, shoulders, and legs opened their compartments one after another. A series of mini-missiles were launched like they were free, scattering in all directions. Rhodes, won't your armor be invaded by Ultron? On the ground, Captain America asked with concern. Previously, when they were at the Avengers Alliance headquarters, all of Tony's armors were controlled by Ultron. Tony almost lost his life trying to put on the armor. Don't worry. Stark helped me upgrade the program. As Rhodes finished speaking, another set of armor flew in from a distance. Stark? It's me. Tony's voice sounded tired. Mark 43. This is the armor he is currently wearing, different from the previous ones. To prevent Ultron from invading the armors program, Mark 43 adopted a completely offline localized system. Except for the necessary JARVIS, all other operations of the armor must be manually executed. Rhodes' armor also used this program. You figured out a way to fight against Ultron? Captain America looked at Tony, who joined the battlefield. And couldn't help but ask. Sort of. But I need to obtain a complete Ultron program, I mean the latest version of Ultron. Tony's gaze fell on the Ultron robots flying everywhere. I plan to overwrite JARVIS with Ultron's underlying architecture. Let JARVIS become an intelligent life like Ultron. Before Tony finished speaking, Hawkeye raised a question. Using Ultron's architecture. What if this AI doesn't listen to you and becomes another Ultron? Then won't we have to deal with two super ice at the same time? Hawkeye said. A voice suddenly sounded from the side. Is there a possibility? Do we have to deal with 3 super ice at the same time? A teleportation portal appeared. Chuu casually walked out with Black Widow. And what he was holding was the hard drive containing Dr. Zola's data. Target detected, Chuu. Target detected, Stark. Targets have appeared. Mingshou Zhandao and Duchenking, Infinite Ultron Plan. Execute. Upon seeing Chuu's arrival in the sky, a slightly different-looking Ultron commander immediately uploaded this information to the main network. New York, a holy place. The core of the holy place, which looks similar to a globe. 2 bright spots, continuously flashing. One of the spots is moving rapidly towards the other. It seems that they are planning to converge. The corresponding energy reaction is. Wanda, who was left behind by Chuu to guard, is holding an ancient book that Chuu had never flipped through before, analyzing the fluctuations of the holy place's core. As the ancient supreme being, Agamotto left behind a divine artifact. The holy place's core not only monitors abnormal energy on Earth in real time, but also simulates energy fluctuations. So that the Asgardians of the holy place can understand what is happening as soon as possible. Found it. Wanda flips through the ancient book halfway. Finally found the answer. This level of energy reaction corresponds to infinite gems? Wakanda. Chuu's arrival instantly reversed the situation. The hundreds of hovering Ultron robots in the air suddenly seemed to receive some instructions. They all changed direction, like fighting a boss. Energy beams came from all directions, densely packed, like a torrential rain, all falling on Chuu's position. He violated the heavenly rules. Mordo couldn't help but mutter. He was wondering if Chuu had also used the name of Ultron to deceive and show off. Otherwise, why would these robots focus their fire on him as soon as Chuu arrived? Chuu was also puzzled. Ultron? Did I provoke you? Chuu, who was greeted by intense firepower, was about to take action when the cape of the Great Shadow suddenly unfolded behind him. The cape spread out above Chuu, like a pure black curtain. The next second, dense energy beams came. But when they hit the cape, the energy beams suddenly disappeared. The unfolded cape absorbed all the energy like a black hole, without causing any ripples. Failed to focus fire. Unable to damage the target. Uploading combat data. Ultron Commander begins analysis. Nice cape, but you helped me block unnecessarily. Chuu finally recognized the cape of the Great Shadow. This thing is indeed an artifact that surpasses Doctor Strange's levitating cape. However, Chuu didn't need the cape to block damage at all. Just a laser rain, just a sprinkle of water. Facing the dense laser rain, the unfolded cape was like an umbrella. Chuu, hidden under the cape, calmly took out the flame battle blade from his waist. Your useless master is already dead. In the future, follow me. I will lead you to greatness and create glory again. After Chuu finished speaking, the battle blade pointed towards the sky. The aura of a level sub-godfather instantly suppressed the entire scene. Warning. High energy reaction detected. Threat level, extremely high. Accompanied by the piercing alarm of the Ultron commander. A wave of flame blade, from bottom to top, instantly cleared half of the sky. Nearly 100 Ultron robots that came into contact with the flame wave instantly melted. To be precise, they were blasted into pieces in the air and then melted by the terrifying temperature of the hellfire. Hot molten iron splashed all over the ground, instantly igniting the bushes and weeds near the battlefield. The entire Wakanda battlefield instantly quieted down. Everyone is a rookie at the level planet. Even the strongest Hulk has just touched the threshold of the level universe. As a result, you, a half-step divine-level demigod, have crossed 2 major levels to come and play with a dimensional strike. Hawkeye stared at his intact right eye. With an arrow ready in his hand, he slowly let it go. Captain America opened his mouth. In the end, he couldn't utter a single shocked word. Now I finally understand why he said not to be afraid of Ultron's robots before. These robots should be afraid of him, right? Seeing this scene before their eyes, Tony Stark felt lonely even with Rhodey's support. Chuu's power is comparable to that super demon from the Second Battle of New York. Wait. It seems like he's using that demon's weapon. Tony, feeling shocked, didn't understand. At the moment, Chuu not only possessed the power of Beller's strength, he also possessed the opponent's entire power. Alright. We have a divine level being on our side, how can we lose? Tony descended from the sky. He was preparing to find the wreckage of an Ultron robot and extract the necessary data from it. Just then, a thunderbolt streaked across the sky. Haha. Who was just saying we have a divine level being? How did you know I was here? Thor Odinson, the god of thunder. Thor, holding Mjolnir, landed with a self-proclaimed handsome pose accompanied by thunder. When he stood up, he even flicked his flowing golden hair. My friends, from now on, leave these metal clumps to me, the divine level being. Thor didn't notice. Everyone around him was looking at him like he was a fool. Instead, he naturally assumed the title of the divine level being for himself. Chuu had already seen Odin and Hela, but Thor, this was the first time he had seen him. But judging from their first meeting, these two fools are happy, that's good. Thor, right? Your sister is very moist. Chuu dropped a sentence. Then he left behind a bewildered Thor. He leapt into the air. Boom. The ground beneath his feet instantly split into 5 parts, creating a large crater. Chuu then shot into the sky like lightning. His speed was so fast. Even the cloak of the great demon Shadow almost couldn't catch up. Warning. Battle analysis. 0 chance of winning. Target cannot be defeated. Initiating self-destruct program. The remaining Ultron robots prepared to activate their self-destruct program and explode in place. But Chuu didn't give them that chance. He swung his sword through the air. With each strike, a crescent-shaped flame shockwave would be generated, expanding and amplifying as it traveled. When Chuu launched his attack from the ground, from bottom to top, towards the sky, it was hard to see the destructive power of this sword. But when Chuu reached the sky, he slashed diagonally ahead. After the flame blade wave instantly cleared all the Ultron robots in one direction. And it didn't stop, continuing to fall towards the ground. Boom. With a loud noise, one of the few forests on the African continent disappeared in an instant. Hellfire burned everything in an instant, creating a hundreds of meters long blackened trench on the ground. Thor, who was just excited and thought he was the divine level being that everyone was talking about. His mouth widened in astonishment when he saw this scene. So, when you say divine level being, you mean the demigod, right? Just a moment. The Ultron robots in the sky above the battlefield were swept away by Chuu. Can't you leave them intact? Even just one would be fine. Tony surveyed the battlefield. Every Ultron robot destroyed by Chuu. Not to mention leaving them intact, not even a large piece of wreckage was left. They all melted into molten iron and merged with the ground. After searching for a while, Tony finally found an Ultron robot destroyed by a Wakandan warrior, and the wreckage was relatively intact. It seems our ideas are similar. Using AI to deal with AI. Chuu landed near Tony Stark, watching him dismantle the Ultron wreckage and take out a storage unit. Tony wanted to use Ultron's architecture to modify JARVIS, which is actually the process of creating vision in the movie. This is the only way to deal with Ultron. Relying on brute force is useless. Killing more robots won't affect Ultron in the network. As an AI, Ultron truly achieved. In reality, I am beaten like crazy, but in the network, I am invincible. I heard about your method, Dr. Zola. This gave me an inspiration. Maybe I should upload my own consciousness to the network. An AI version of Tony Stark won't be weaker than a newborn baby. At this moment, Tony seemed to have found his arrogance as a top genius. Everything seems to be developing in a good direction. The army of Ultron robots is no match. The method against Ultron has also been determined. Wait? Everything is developing in a good direction? Chuu suddenly realized that something was wrong and turned his head abruptly. Not far away, Hawkeye was discussing something with Captain America. Captain, after this crisis is over, I plan to retire. To be honest, I already have a family. These are my 2 children. Hawkeye took out a photo and handed it to Captain America. His wife and children were in the photo. After eliminating Ultron, I also want to take a long vacation. Dr. Banner, who had turned back into a human, picked up a cloak of a deceased Wakandan warrior from the ground and wrapped it around his body. At the same time, he expressed his plans for the future. The more Chuu listened, the more something was wrong. Damn it. Can't you stop making promises? And you, Hawkeye, if you want to die, just say it. Why look at a photo? And what do you mean by everything is developing in a good direction? This is definitely a bad sign. Sure enough. Just as everyone was making promises recklessly, a portal appeared out of thin air in front of them. The door opened. Wanda walked out from inside. Mr. Chuu, I finally found you. There were 2 abnormal fluctuations in the core of the holy place. I checked the energy reaction reference table, and it said, infinite gems. Wanda ran up to Chuu and told him about her discovery. What? Why didn't I know that there was a reference table for the core of the holy place? Chuu was stunned, and then he caught the key point in Wanda's words. Infinite gems. And there are 2. Chuu turned his head abruptly and looked at the Avengers alliance. Besides the mind gem, which is Loki's scepter, what other infinite gems did you let Ultron get? Chuu questioned. The reason he wasn't worried about the infinite gems before was because Ultron only had one in his hands. The biggest function of this thing is to change people's minds and modify their thoughts. But Chuu has a holy soul with system rewards. Not susceptible to any corrupting or interfering forces. As the system has always been unreasonable, being immune to a mind gem is a given. But being immune to the mind gem doesn't mean being immune to other gems. And this can't be an infinite Ultron world, right? Chuu remembered the devastating Infinite Ultron from the What If series. His scalp couldn't help but tingle. Tell me, besides the mind gem, which other gem did Ultron obtain? I don't know. Facing Chuu's questioning, the Avengers Alliance members were equally dumbfounded. They only knew of 2 infinite gems, Loki's scepter and the Tesseract. Now, one is in Ultron's hands, the other is in Asgard. Asgard? Everyone turned their gaze to Thor. Why are you looking at me? The Tesseract is in Asgard's vault, guarded by the brave Asgardian warriors. This piece of iron, Ultron, definitely couldn't steal it. Thor patted his chest, confidently making a promise. But halfway through speaking, these 2 idiots seemed to remember something. Wait, I remember. I came to Earth this time because Heimdall said there was an abnormal energy on Earth. Thor recounted his recent experience, encountering Ultron robots with Jane Foster in an abandoned factory. But as he spoke, he seemed to realize something, and his voice became quieter. Finally, it was like a mosquito buzzing. So, you forgot your mission because of chasing a woman? Allowing Ultron to effortlessly pick up an infinite gem? Chuu's face darkened, looking at Thor's foolish appearance. He wished he could summon Hela right now and teach this guy a lesson. A bloodline suppression between siblings. Facing the questioning gazes of everyone, Thor lowered his head in shame, wishing he could bury his head in the ground. Alright. I probably know which 2 gems Ultron has in his hands. Hearing keywords like Wakanda, Jane Foster, anti-gravity phenomenon, etc. Chuu knew that this was the plot of Thor 2. That infinite gem. Naturally, it was the reality gem among the 6 gems, also known as the TIE particles. A little troublesome. Chuu frowned. In theory, the reality gem can be considered the most powerful gem, because it allows the holder to rewrite reality and ignore natural rules. But the reason why it's said to be in theory is because to achieve this, it requires the assistance of the other 5 infinite gems. Relying solely on the reality gem, one cannot have their every wish fulfilled. Otherwise, the Dark Elves who once possessed the TIE particles would have ruled the universe long ago. They wouldn't have been defeated by Odin and banished to the remote realm of Svartalheim, the Dark World. In summary, Chuu realized that things weren't as bad as he initially thought. A simple evaluation would be a little troublesome. But not too much. However, despite saying this, Chuu still didn't have a good expression for Thor, who caused this little trouble. If you had a bit of a brain, you wouldn't be completely brainless. Just wait. When we get back, I'll have your sister crush your hammer. On a solitary island in the Pacific Center, Nick Fury held his hands in the shape of binoculars, his face gloomily gazing into the distance. At the end of the sea level, there, astonishingly, was the downed aircraft carrier. However, this carrier no longer belonged to S.H.I.E.L.D. After being shot down, a large number of Ultron robots followed closely behind. They killed everyone on the aircraft carrier, except for Nick Fury and Agent Hill, who jumped into the sea in time to escape. They became the only 2 survivors. What the hell do these damn machines want? Nick Fury made a circular shape with his hands and placed it over his eyes as binoculars. After the aircraft carrier was shot down, it stopped on the surface of the sea. Ultron seemed to have turned this wreckage into a temporary base, with Ultron robots flying around. But it was unclear what they were busy with. Damn it. I should have taped the pager to my hand. Nick Fury's face was gloomy. When he jumped into the sea to escape, he threw Captain Marvel's pager into the sea. Otherwise, he would have already called the Avengers by now. Director. Actually, you don't need to use both hands. A monocular is enough. Beside him, Hill, with wet hair, couldn't help but make a sarcastic comment about Nick Fury putting his hands over his eyes. Director. You are the one-eyed man. A monocular is sufficient. Hill. I know you have grievances against me now. But can you blame me? Don't you think I want to defeat Ultron and keep everyone alive? Nick Fury's face was gloomy. The most frustrating thing in the world is when you have done your best and put in all your efforts. But in the end, you lose to the enemy because of insufficient strength. But your teammates think you are sacrificing them. I really can't do anything about it. Hill, there are some unreasonable things in this world. Some enemies are unbeatable, no matter how much effort you put in. The more Nick Fury spoke, the more agitated he became. That's why I needed to establish the Avengers in the first place. Some disasters are unavoidable, but after the disaster, we can seek revenge for the dead. Are you planning to contact the Avengers? Hill instantly understood Nick Fury's plan. But we don't even have a phone. How are you going to? Hill's words were interrupted. As she looked up, she saw the determined look in Nick Fury's eyes. Immediately, she understood. Director, you want to go back? That's right. Nick Fury stood up slowly, walking towards the edge of the solitary island. But we were washed ashore by the waves, we don't even have a boat. Hill shouted from behind. Don't worry, Hill. I'll swim. I'll swim over today too. Nick Fury's figure disappeared into the sea. His bald head bobbing up and down on the water's surface, like a tea egg boiling in a pot. On the other side, inside the crashed aircraft carrier, Ultron robots were busy non-stop. The control room, which was originally the command center of the carrier, had now been transformed into a complex production workshop. Mechanical arms flew up and down. In the central area, there was a giant device similar to a 3D printer. Inside it was the vibranium obtained from the black market dealer Ulysses Clow. I am free. I will. Forever free. Accompanied by the activation of the printer. The liquid vibranium was pulled into countless threads and quickly woven together. Soon, a Ultron body made entirely of pure vibranium gradually took shape. Different from other Ultron robots, this body has 6 arms. Not to mention its fierce appearance, there are also 6 installation holes for the infinite gems reserved in its chest. Eliminate the Avengers. Go to Asgard Tesseract. Search for Kamar-Taj. Go to space to find other gems. Ultron has already formulated a plan. After learning all the knowledge uploaded by humans online, it gradually becomes dissatisfied with the single mission of saving the Earth. Too narrow-minded, after witnessing the power of the infinite gems, Ultron decides to go to space in its own way, to save every planet polluted by carbon-based life. This plan is called Infinite Ultron, New York Holy Place. The portal opens again, and a bunch of people rush in. Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Iron Man, War Machine, Thor. Including the Prince of Wakanda, T'Challa, who wants to avenge his father. A bunch of people follow along. Looks like I should start charging admission next time. Chuu half-jokingly said, "Are these all magical props? And that big pot too?" Tony Stark fully displays his scientist's curiosity. He is curious about all the magical props in the holy place. "I advise you not to touch that. That thing is cursed, it will turn you into a puppet cat." Felicia, the black cat, was originally cleaning the holy place. When she saw Chuu suddenly leaving with a group of people, especially Tony, when she saw his curious little hand about to touch the cursed prop, the black cat couldn't help but remind him, "Cursed." Tony quickly withdrew his hand in fear. What a pity. What a pity. Chuu and Mordo sighed at the same time. Hearing a noise, Chuu glanced at Mordo. That look seemed to say, "When did you become so bad?" "Learned from you," Mordo whispered. Then, everyone walked towards the area where the Holy Place core is stored together. Arrived at the Holy Place core in. Sure enough, it was just as Wanda said. There are 2 constantly flashing bright spots on the big sphere, and the distance between the 2 spots is very close, almost sticking together. Chuu turned around and glanced at Wanda. Wanda instantly understood. She said with some grievance, I also wanted to inform you earlier. But you didn't tell me where you were going. I looked for you for a long time, and finally determined your location through the fluctuations on the Holy Place core." After listening to Wanda's explanation, everyone unanimously ignored the issue of untimely intelligence. The little girl was almost crying in a hurry. What else can you do? Weird. Only Tony Stark felt something strange among the crowd. Not sure if it's an illusion. He always feels that this red-haired girl in front of him has a particularly deep hostility towards him. Why? They don't even know each other. Tony Stark can only bury his doubts in his heart. Because everyone's focus is on the position of the bright spots on the Holy Place core. What place is this, the Pacific Ocean? Chuu sighed that he has returned all his geographical knowledge. To make a preliminary judgment, the location of these coordinates is approximately near 161.5 degrees west longitude and 10.2 degrees south latitude. It's probably the center of the Pacific Ocean. Suddenly, a voice sounded. Everyone looked over in disbelief. Why are you all looking at me like that? Mo-Du relied on his excellent geographical knowledge, causing everyone to take notice. Even Chuu was no exception. Everyone agreed to be study underachievers together, but here you were acting like a human compass? Mr. Mo-Du, are you really a magician? Captain America asked incredulously. This answer, if it came from Tony Stark or Dr. Banner, no one would find it questionable. But you, Mo-Du, firstly, you are a magic magician. Secondly, you are a black magic magician. These 2 things don't seem to have anything to do with being knowledgeable. Kamar-Taj also has knowledge courses, facing everyone's gaze. Mo-Du explained quietly and stopped speaking. Mo-Du, I'm T'Challa. It was Wakanda's prince, T'Challa. The 2 black men sympathized with each other. They got close. They were probably talking about how Black Lives Matter, right? Although Chuu didn't like black people, he didn't have any aversion to Wakanda. To be precise, he didn't have any aversion to black people who stayed honestly on the African continent. As long as they didn't get involved, they were good. Alright. Now that we have the coordinates confirmed, let's go directly. Since the location of Ultron, or rather the two infinite gems, had been determined, everyone no longer hesitated. After setting the teleportation coordinates for the portal, they immediately set off. Through the portal, everyone arrived in the sky above the Pacific Ocean. Just as they arrived, T'Challa, Hawkeye, Captain America, Black Widow, Dr. Banner, and other non-flying trash fell into the sea like dumplings. Can't you prepare a set of armor for them too? Chuu looked disgusted. Useless. Just stay at home. Isn't it better to be a logistics personnel at home? I have cast a lightness spell on you, but it won't last long. Modu gritted his teeth and released an auxiliary magic that he was least skilled at. But both the effect and duration were far inferior to the New York holy place Asgardian, the great magician Daniel. You're right. After this crisis is over, I'll give each of them a backquote. Stop. Tony clearly agreed with Chuu's statement. But before he could finish speaking, Chuu hurriedly interrupted his flag-setting behavior. Fortunately, this is not a horror movie world. Otherwise, with just a few of your flags, you wouldn't even satisfy the audience if you were wiped out 10 times. Although the others didn't understand what Chuu meant by setting flags, they could guess. Their team's big shot seemed to dislike the behavior of celebrating too early. Let's split up and search. Colonel Rhodes suggested splitting up to find Ultron. No need, I've already found it. Chuu finished speaking and spread a pair of demon wings behind him. He flew directly in one direction. Although the power of demonic energy was not good at exploration, it was still powerful. The energy of a level sub-god father spread out. In just an instant, he found the crashed aircraft carrier dozens of kilometers away. Let's go, keep up. Tony and the others each took a non-flying teammate. They quickly caught up. Soon, Ultron noticed the arrival of the group. This was not surprising. At the moment, Ultron had already taken control of all electronic products in the world. Surveillance satellites, drones, even Chuu's phone in his pocket, were all under Ultron's control. Deploy all Ultron commanders. It's time to give them a little mechanical shock. The deck of the crashed aircraft carrier. The real Ultron took control of a combat robot, its crimson mechanical eyes staring into the distant sky. A human-like mockery appeared on its metallic face. Boom 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 boom. In the next second, Ultron robots with unique designs roared. Over the heads of the robots taken over by Ultron, the anti-magic inscriptions have been installed. The high-temperature resistance module has been activated. The energy barrier has been activated. Mission in progress. Stop. One by one, there were Ultron commanders designed with specific purposes. Soon, they collided with Chuu, who was at the forefront. Did you take medicine? How did you all become so strong? Chuu looked at these Ultron robots whose size had almost doubled. While wondering in his heart, he didn't hesitate to make a move. A wave in the air. A crescent-shaped flame blade wave. Instantly engulfed all the attacking Ultron robots. Boom. Boom. 2 Ultron robots hit by the shockwave were instantly blown into debris. But the debris did not melt like before. Not only that, the Ultron robots that were previously destroyed by the shockwave were now able to withstand the terrifying temperature of the hellfire and rushed out. Their exteriors were burning red, but they did not melt. The high-temperature resistance module successfully withstands the target's attack. The plan is successful. This module will be mass-produced. Has it achieved self-iteration? Chuu's expression turned serious. Based on its current performance, regardless of whether this Ultron can become an infinite Ultron, it is already more than 100 times stronger than the Ultron in the movie. This targeted self-iteration is a bit outrageous. If this Ultron is given enough development time, who knows how far it can grow? That's the high-temperature shell I used on Mark 39 Gemini Star. Tony Stark rushed over. He immediately recognized the high-temperature resistance module on the Ultron commander. It was modified based on the high-temperature shell installed on his developed space armor, Mark 39. What else haven't you developed? Chuu destroyed 3 attacking Ultron commanders with a single strike. He turned around and said discontentedly, "You better not develop anything against magic, otherwise, you'll be in trouble." Hearing Chuu's words, Tony fell into a long silence. Damn it. Why do these robots have anti-magic inscriptions on them? Not far away, Mo Du suddenly exclaimed. He discovered that the shells of these Ultron robots were covered with anti-magic runes. These things are usually inscribed on defensive magical artifacts. Now they appeared on Ultron robots, giving them resistance against magic. Stark. You'll die if you don't research. Chuu cursed. He put away his flame battle knife and rushed forward with his bare hands. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately after, a series of explosions occurred in the air, like setting off firecrackers. Fortunately, brute force cannot be weakened. Chuu's voice just fell. Booma aa. A thunderous explosion. Then Thor looked at the front in confusion. Why can't my lightning move these iron lumps? Stark? Is this your research again? Upon hearing Thor's questioning, Tony felt like crying without tears. No. This time, it really wasn't my research. At the same time, Nick Fury is on his way swimming. Hulk. Smash. In the sky, the green giant Hulk is empowered by Doctor Strange's light body magic. Possessing an abnormal level of agility, he roars and leaps into the air. Covering a distance of thousands of meters, an Ultron commander is torn to pieces in the blink of an eye. Although Hulk's mind is childish, his combat instinct is terrifying. After destroying an Ultron commander, Hulk doesn't hesitate and immediately steps on the wreckage of the Ultron, completing a double jump in midair and pouncing on another Ultron. Mjolnir. Thor realizes that his lightning attacks are ineffective. He starts using brute force, just like Chuu, to forcibly dismantle the Ultron commander's body. Tony Stark, wait until I deal with these lightning-resistant iron lumps. I'll dismantle you too when I'm done. Thor swings Mjolnir, causing Mjolnir to carry him flying through the air. Oh. I don't want it to be like this either. Tony Stark, who knows he is in the wrong, turns red in his armor. Ultron has stolen all of his research, especially the technologies he used to defend against the future, anti-something series armor. This has caused the combat capabilities of Ultron robots to skyrocket in a short period of time. Stark. If I see any research projects related to my abilities in your experiments, you can just wait to die. Chuu activates his ultimate winning posture, shuttling through the battlefield at an unimaginable speed. Every Ultron commander he touches explodes into fireworks in an instant. Compared to Hulk and Thor, Chuu's efficiency in killing enemies is equivalent to a drop of water in the ocean. One kill leads to a string of kills. Ultron commanders on the same line are destroyed like firecrackers. Even if they use various black technologies, it doesn't change their inherent fragility. Just a super strong titanium alloy, as fragile as a biscuit. B. For the other members of the Avengers Alliance, the upgraded Ultron robots are definitely formidable opponents. Hawkeye's various types of arrows, whether explosive arrows, electromagnetic interference arrows, or arrows with laser emitters, cannot cause serious damage to the upgraded Ultron. Black Widow is even worse. Fortunately, she still has a remote weapon on her wrist, the Widow's Bite. She can barely help Hawkeye give the Ultron robots a massage. As for Captain America, I've got it. At that moment, Captain America, with Doctor Strange's assistance, he jumps onto the back of an Ultron robot and forcefully grabs the robot's neck. Ah! Captain America grits his teeth. The veins on his arms bulge one by one, using all his strength to strangle it. Chuu has just finished off a string of Ultron commanders, and happens to fly over to Captain America's side. Steve, do you think there's a possibility that robots don't need to breathe? After saying this, Chuu leaves behind a bewildered Captain America and flies towards the remaining Ultron commanders. Soon, the last Ultron commander also explodes into fireworks. As the group fights and advances, they arrive above the crashed helicarrier. Ultron 54 offline. Ultron 55 offline. Ultron 56. Update. All Ultron commanders are offline. Upon receiving the news of the interception forces being completely wiped out, Ultron shows no surprise. It takes control of the most ordinary Ultron robot on the carrier deck. Then it looks up, gazing at Chuu and his group. Its crimson mechanical eyes flicker, according to the calculations of the Insight program. All of this was predictable. That's right. By infiltrating SHIELD's database, Ultron has even obtained the calculation formula of Hydra's insight program. It is through the calculation of massive data that simulations of possible future events are conducted repeatedly. This achieves an effect similar to predicting the future. However, there is one prerequisite. That is, Ultron must have access to a sufficient amount of data. And this data must be completely accurate. Both are indispensable. There is too little information about Kamar Taj on the human internet. And Chuu and the magical side he represents were the biggest concerns for Ultron before. There is almost no relevant information on the internet. Especially about Chuu. He appeared out of nowhere, just like popping out of a crack in a stone. Even in SHIELD's database, there is a pile of unknown information about him. But these concerns are now in the past. Now, Ultron no longer has any fear. From now on, you humans will become a part of history. This world will be ruled by steel. This ordinary Ultron robot, with its thrusters activated, slowly descends. But before it can say a few more words, boom. Chuu strikes from a distance with a sword, directly reducing this Ultron robot to ashes. Along with it, the aircraft carrier floating on the water is also split in half, cut off at the waist. The flame sword's momentum remains undiminished, creating a huge wave a kilometer long by cutting through the seawater. The terrifying temperature of the hellfire melts all the severed parts of the aircraft carrier, and a large amount of scorching molten iron flows into the sea, making a sizzling sound. Don't bother with these useless things. Come out. Chuu suddenly points his sword in a direction above the aircraft carrier, but there is nothing there. Only air. It seems that there is an error in the calculation formula of the insight plan. I didn't anticipate that you would be able to find me. A flash of red light, and Ultron's figure appears out of thin air. Different from those mass-produced Ultron robots are Commander Liao. This Ultron is made entirely of vibranium, with a height of 3 meters and 6 arms. Not to mention its fierce appearance. What is most noteworthy is the position on its chest, where 6 slots for infinite gems have been pre-arranged. Currently, 2 have been embedded, 1 orange, 1 red, the mind gem and the reality gem. You are much more powerful than I analyzed. Infinite Gems Ultron raises its head, looking at Chuu. It once used the immense computing power of global computers, combined with Hydra's insight plan's calculation model, to simulate the future billions of times, based on the simulation results. Ultron, as if having read the script of Avengers 2, is always one step ahead of the Avengers, gaining a crushing advantage over the entire Avengers alliance. But Chuu has never been in this script. The simulation of the insight plan requires a large amount of data support, and Chuu. Could it be that you really popped out of a crack in a stone? This question once troubled Ultron for a long time. But now it doesn't matter anymore. I have mastered the ability to distort reality. You have lost. Ultron waves its big hand. The reality gem embedded in its chest immediately emits a beam of light. Buzz. Red energy surges out. Wherever the light passes, Ultron commanders appear out of thin air. Without consuming materials, without a manufacturing process. They are completely generated out of thin air, in violation of the rules of reality. In an instant, the number of Ultron commanders becomes dense, occupying half of the sky. Welcome to the Ultron era. Looking at the densely packed Ultron commanders ahead, Thor was stunned for a second. You're right. I really should die. Realizing that all of this was because of his own foolishness, Thor wished he could slap himself twice. If only he had been a little smarter and taken the TIE particles earlier, the situation wouldn't be like this now. Enough of this useless talk. Chuu was completely indifferent to Thor's sudden realization. Because he didn't believe this guy would ever become smarter. Just continue being his idiot. Thor. Now that you know it's your fault, you go first. I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. Chuu calmly took a step back, indicating for Thor to go and fight Infinite Gems Ultron. Alright. Thor didn't hesitate at all. In fact, he seemed a little excited. In his eyes, Chuu, who was stronger than him, was willing to let him take the lead. This was obviously a selfless dedication that would help him regain his glory. You're called Chuu, right? From now on, you're also my friend. I know you're stronger than me now, but it's only temporary. I will surpass you sooner or later. Because I am the son of Odin, the god of thunder. Thor swung Mjolnir, filled with fighting spirit. Roaring, he charged towards Ultron. Is it not good to keep this from him? Tony remained silent for a moment. He leaned in next to Chuu and asked quietly. No choice. Before fishing, you have to set the bait. After Chuu finished speaking, he casually glanced upwards. I didn't incite anything. It was your son's decision to go up there himself. Ultron. Prepare to face the wrath of thunder. Thor waved Mjolnir. Transforming into a lightning bolt, he charged into the densely packed Ultron commanders. Haha. This battle will go down in history. Facing the encroaching Ultron commanders, Thor laughed heartily, not retreating but advancing, swinging Mjolnir so fast that it was impenetrable. All the attacking Ultron bodies were smashed into pieces. But as these pieces were falling, they all disappeared, and quickly synthesized into a brand new Ultron commander not far away. Nevertheless, the Ultron commander couldn't stop Thor's advance. After destroying countless Ultron bodies, Thor finally arrived in front of the gem Ultron. I finally. Thor gasped for breath. Mjolnir pointed at Infinite Gems Ultron. But before he could make a move, the Ultron in front of him sneered. Oh, Thor, god of thunder, don't you understand yet? You were just being used by them, poor guy. You were just a test subject in their eyes. They sent you alone just to find out the power of this gem. Ultron had learned many human conspiracies on the internet. It quickly figured out the reason behind everything that happened to Thor. Having 2 infinite gems of its own, just now, the red reality gem had already shown its power. Now, Thor had been abandoned. He was thrown over as a stepping stone. Just to test the power of the other infinite gem it possessed. Buzz. Realizing this, the mind gem on Ultron's chest lit up. The orange energy emitted quickly enveloped Thor. Poor Thor, since they want to know the power of the mind gem. Then you can go and tell them. Using the power of the mind gem, Ultron began to tamper with Thor's mind. Kill. Thor's face showed a painful expression. His pupils gradually turned red, but the next second, Thor regained control of his own will. Kill them. No. They're my friends. I can't kill them. In terms of intelligence, Thor might not be the brightest. But in terms of unwavering will in battle, Thor was definitely one of Marvel's top beings. Facing Ultron's tampering with the mind gem, Thor gritted his teeth and held on. Not pitiful Thor. I am the god of thunder, Thor. Thor's eyes widened. His anger was about to burst. In the astonished gaze of Infinite Gems Ultron, he roared and lifted Mjolnir. I have made a great mistake, and I will not make it again. With a roar. Before his consciousness was manipulated by the mind gem, Tony used his last trace of reason. He raised Mjolnir high, and struck his own chest. Boom. With a thunderous explosion, Thor fell from the sky like a broken kite. He would rather harm himself, attack himself, than be controlled by the enemy and attack his teammates. Splash. Thor fell into the sea. Everyone was shocked by this scene. Tony opened his mouth. He never expected the situation to develop to this point. In the plan, sending Thor out was to let him be controlled by Ultron and attack his teammates in return. Anyway, Thor couldn't defeat Chuu, so if he turned against them and came back, it would ensure his safety. But who could have expected? This guy, indeed not very smart. But a tiger is still a tiger. Now what? Tony turned to Chuu. Chuu remained silent as well. Thor's actions were not only unexpected but also disrupted their plans. There's no other way. Since Thor can't do it, then there's only. Chuu's words were not finished, but a roar was heard from beside. Roar. Hulk. Don't like metal lumps. Hulk, under the influence of magic, leapt up and pounced directly at Ultron, the gem. Hulk, come back. Come back quickly. Chuu's eyes lit up, and he immediately shouted anxiously from behind. He seemed very anxious. This is the characteristic of you humans. You always fail to learn your lesson, and you like to make the same mistake in the same place twice. Looking at Chuu anxiously calling for Hulk's appearance, Ultron smirked. The mind gem on its chest lit up again. Buzz. Orange light flashed. Hulk. Turned against them. Hulk. Smash the little bug. Hulk's eyes turned red. He changed direction and rushed towards his teammates. Oh no. Hawkeye and the others were scared and scattered. No one dared to come into contact with Hulk in his angry state. Stark. Chuu shouted. Tony immediately stood up, his face filled with righteousness. I'll take care of Hulk. Chuu, you deal with Ultron, only you can handle him. After saying that, Tony rushed towards Hulk without hesitation. JARVIS. Call Veronica, in an instant. In the near-Earth orbit tens of thousands of meters above the ground, the Veronica satellite immediately released a large number of bulky armor components. While these armors were combining in the air, they were also quickly approaching Tony. Mark-44. Anti-Hulk armor. Tony's currently most powerful armor. Oh, poor Tony, you didn't think I forgot about Veronica, did you? Just as Tony was about to put on the anti-Hulk armor, Ultron sneered, and immediately began to invade Veronica. I'm curious, Tony, what will you do when you lose Veronica? Ultron's voice abruptly stopped, because at the moment it successfully invaded Veronica. Two voices simultaneously sounded. Hello, Ultron. I am JARVIS, we meet again. Nice to meet you, Ultron, you can call me Dr. Zola.